Happy Sunday, January 30th. Wow, a whole month gone by, year 2022. Hope you had a great first month of the year. And thank you for all the recent likes and shares and video views on Kimok 7. We're going to talk about some other misconceptions and what autism isn't here today. I'm going to read you an article of 10 things autism isn't. Because, as you saw with my other video recently, there's a pastor down in Tennessee spreading lies and misconceptions and old stereotypes that go back to the early 1900s. You know, back before autism was labeled and written about in the 30s and 40s, thanks to Cantor, there were people that thought some of these children were possessed or demonized. People didn't know what to do or think. You know, suddenly there were these children that were non-responsive. You know, a lot of them back then, if you read about it, were actually schizophrenic. They were not autistic. So to think that here we are, you know, and autism only labeled less than 100 years ago. And think of all forward progress for acceptance and awareness over the last 20 years. You know, to think that somebody, a pastor who's got a master's degree in theology, would consider my son or somebody like my son Chase to be possessed? Can you imagine using the word possessed? It's just so ridiculous and so sad that here we are in year 2022, even with the internet, and there could actually be somebody with a lot of influence and a stage spreading old lies and stereotypes and misconceptions. You know, people believe that stuff. You know, can you imagine being a parent in that congregation or church and the first person or the first person, that, you know, somebody that you really look up to is telling you that your child or your nephew, your niece, or your grandson might be demonized or possessed? It's really, really sad. And it really falls back to old misconceptions and stereotypes from the hundreds and hundreds of years ago. But even recently, to see somebody like this on a stage saying this is really sad and unfortunate. And here at Kimok 7, we're going to continue to spread the truth and expose some of these lies and misconceptions and spread acceptance. You know, anyone with autism or any mental challenges or special needs needs to be accepted into society. This is not a society that exists with just neurotypical people. You know, there is a place for everyone in this society, and there should be, and we should never fall back in terms of progress and acceptance. We can't have it. And I'm going to continue to read meaningful articles and take Kimok 7 to another level on the internet here with education and awareness. So today we're going to read an article that was written in 2019. I found it on Organization for Autism Research, 10 Things Autism Isn't. This is just fantastic, and it goes right to what I was saying. Autism is not being socially awkward. It's not awkwardness. Autistic people are often excellent at socializing with each other, where they can avoid eye contact, stim, avoid small talk, share information, and rely on their own natural communication preferences. We don't do social communication automatically. And by that, I mean we don't do non-autistic social communication automatically, because I have never seen anyone express happiness more effusively than an autistic person meeting someone else with the same interests and sharing their joy. Obviously, this article is written by someone with autism. Number 2, autism is not avoiding eye contact. For some autistic people, eye contact is overwhelming and painful. For others, it's not a problem. I have lost count of the number of people who have gone for a diagnosis and been told they don't meet the criteria as they are making eye contact. I myself tend to look at the bridge of the nose or the mouth. I lip read a lot when people speak so that my visual processor can support my auditory processor, and I'm more likely to work out what it is you are saying. I had assumed that eye contact was an euphemism for looking at someone's face. Imagine my surprise when I was told that people actually look into my eyes directly, and that was a sign of honesty and dependability. How I laughed at the strange world of non autistic communication and its illogical rules. Autism is not lacking empathy. This is probably the big one for me because it is the reason that I didn't seek a diagnosis for years. I worked with autistic teens. I had all these sensory difficulties and executive function issues, all these social misunderstandings and misconceptions, all these social hangovers that would take weeks to pass, all these similarities, but how could I be autistic? I was married with children, I had friends, I cared deeply about lots of people. Wasn't autism supposed to be synonymous with cold and unfeeling and selfish? No, it never was. We were fed lies and stereotypes by the media. Some autistic people do lack empathy, as do many non-autistic people, but it's not a given. What we tend to do is perform our feelings differently or appear to be cold and distant when we are feeling overwhelmed. This is a misconception, not a lack of feeling. Many autistic people report hyper empathy as a problem, feeling empathy more strongly than the average person. We are as caring and loving as any other group of people. Number 4, autistic people do not lack imagination. Difficulties with social imagination are a thing, but that does not translate into a lack of imagination generally. We are a creative bunch. Pattern thinking is one of my favorite things about being autistic. I see patterns and connections in everything, and I use this to inform my creativity. I may be a bit rubbish at applying a creative social story to some green arrows on a screen, but I'm great at imagining the connections that run through us all in every aspect of our lives. What is imagination anyway? Some people think in words, others in pictures, others in a mixture. Is imagination simply thinking about something as it isn't? Creativity is enormously important for many autistic people. We feel it as a deep need, and it is not possible to create without imagination. I start to get twitchy if a few days go by and I haven't made something new. The form doesn't matter. It could be writing, it could be origami, chainsawing, woodwork design, do your own project, crochet, spreadsheets, sewing, gardening, or just generalized hitting something with a hammer until it forms into what I want it. Creativity is a drive that has imagination at its roots. Autism is not black and white thinking. Okay, so this is the tricky one. I'm definitely a black and white thinker. I definitely have rigid behavior patterns and I definitely hate change. But my black and white thinking is built on a foundation of research and analysis. When someone says, "But have you considered?" Yes, I have. I've thought of every possible permutation I could come up with. Nothing I do is unplanned or baseless. And this is where I argue that my black and white thinking is different. If someone showed me evidence to change my mind, I would. I've noticed non-autistics are often emotionally attached to their opinions or attack the view to a personal attack. Or attach the view to a personal attack. To attack my view is to attack my ability to reason, but present me with additional information that refutes me and I will embrace it. Yes, I am literal. I literally studied English literature in university so that I can learn how to read between the lines. I'm good at it, but it's all very conscious. One thing that often strikes me is how adverse to change many non-autistics are when it comes to how things are done. It isn't the autistic person fearing new technology or wanting to do things in a certain way because this is how we have done it. There is a different kind of rigidity to be found in the non-autistic population that keeps us from making positive change when it is logically the best way forward. We all need a bit more flexibility in our thinking. Autism is not a learning difficulty. About a third of autistic people have a learning difficulty too, and this can change their support needs significantly. Learning non-natural communication methods is particularly hard for those with learning difficulties. It is incredibly important that those who are not verbal have their needs supported and heard. One way the rest of us can help is by sharing how autism affects us so that we can all better understand the triggers for stress behaviors in those who cannot express the problem. When it comes to needs, with all needs different things, we all need different things. I like to think of myself as not needing support, but I do have a husband who takes on things like going to the supermarket, which I find a nightmare due to the sensory overload as well as executive function problems, the number of variables involved, and the possibility of unscripted social interactions with anyone I've never met. And providing me with the information about change and taking me to new places. My needs vary day to day, but I don't have a learning difficulty. It is not the same thing as autism, and it does not create additional difficulties that need understanding. Autistic people are not incapable of lying. I'm an honest person. Lies make me uncomfortable, and I'm terrible at spotting when I'm being lied to, even when the lie is outrageous. I don't like lying. It doesn't come natural to me. Autistic people are generally honest and like clarity in communication. This can be seen negatively as blunt and rude, or positively as clear and honest, depending on your viewpoint. Social lies are something I have had to learn. When someone is asking if you like what they're wearing and it's too late to change, they are looking for affirmation, not a critique of their choice. Though I'm unlikely to have strong feelings either way, fashion is not my forte. Autistic people tend to be better at seeing things as they are, rather than seeing what we are socially expected to see. And this comes down to the advantage of not processing social communication automatically. We don't soak things in unconsciously. We make a choice to engage or not. There are also some autistic people who do lie as a matter of course. This is often down to trying avoid social confrontation and wanting to give someone exactly what they think that person wants to hear in order to fit in. It can be a real difficulty for some autistic people, especially because it often ends up distancing them from the people they are trying to get close to. Autistic people are not impolite. We like rules, and I'm particularly partial to the very British manner of sprinkling pleases and thank yous and sorries through every sentence I speak. In Britain, if you only say thank you once, you aren't being grateful enough. We are a ridiculous nation. I was raised with strict Victorian ideals of politeness. Debrets would be more than happy with my etiquette. When we talk about a lack of politeness, we are usually talking about someone who is either bluntly crossing social boundaries they weren't aware existed, or someone who has seen through the charade of empty words. Clarity and honesty is not rudeness. If I say you are obese because you meet the clinical criteria for obesity, then I'm stating a fact and not making a judgment. Whether you are obese or not doesn't make you a good person or a bad person. It doesn't make you cruel or kind. It just is. But I know that most people would assume that stating that fact had been done as an insult, so I won't say it. If I did, I would not be trying to be rude. I would not be trying to be insulting. I would just be stating a truth, and I would likely be misunderstood. If I see that many people use formal politeness to be passively aggressively rude, and I decide to skip the formalities and just be kind, then again, I would not be trying to be impolite. I would be skipping the garnish and going for the meaning beneath it instead. Autistic people are not at all good at maths. A tricky one for me because I am good at maths. I have a mind that loves logic, puzzles, and finding patterns, and numbers bring me great joy. But I'm not at all autistic people. Many autistic people don't have that form of pattern thinking. They don't find numbers easy. They are not logic-minded. Extremely few autistic people are savants of any kind. Even fewer are math savants. We don't get a superpower as a trade-off or not, finding social communication hard. I'm good at math. That doesn't mean I can calculate to pi to 100 decimal places in my head, nor calculate vast sums without a calculator. There is a huge variation between autistic people. If in doubt, ask us about our interests. Most of us would be happy to share. And finally, number 10, autistic people are not incapable of growing up. Most autistic people are adults. By the way, there are 25 million across the globe. Some of us will require support our entire lives. Many of us are parents, we work, we socialize, we are valuable members of our community. Look no further than 15-year-old Greta Thunberg, who inspired the latest school strikes to protest climate change for a level of maturity far surpassing most adults. We care deeply about fairness, equality, and we are not constrained by a fear of long-term social change. You'll find us waiting at the school gates, in the office, in the art world, singing on a stage, dancing badly but enthusiastically if you're like me, paying bills, walking the dog on the beach. We've infiltrated everywhere. I often rely on routine to overcome my difficulties keeping on top of day-to-day necessities. I use familiarity to breed my contempt. No, I use familiarity to keep my feelings safe. And I use pattern thinking to predict what will happen and when, so that I do not get overwhelmed. I have noise-canceling headphones for when it gets too loud, dark glasses for when it gets too bright, and on downtime to recover when it all gets too much. As with adulting, it's about finding a balance that works and joining the biggest lie of all, that all adults know what they are doing. Autism isn't a strange alien thing. It's just a different way of thinking and experiencing the world. Some of us find ourselves more or less compatible with modern living than others. We all have different needs, and those may vary day to day. But autism is not terrifying or awful, nor is it marvelous and fabulous. It just is. It's how I think, and I wouldn't be who I am without it. I hope you enjoyed this reading today. If you did, I want you to give it a thumbs up. Towards the end there, it's very emotional, and she's so well written and so well said. It's just the most incredible article and blog, and I think it's been online since 2019. It should be read in every news outlet across America, as far as I'm concerned. I wonder if she ever gave an audio recording of it. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, I'm going to keep saying this. If you know someone with autism, please give them a hug and kiss and tell them you love them today, and tell them that they are accepted and they are loved and that they are wonderful. Please subscribe. Please give this a thumbs up. Please turn on that notifications bell. And please check out my other videos. This has been Kimok7 with Kimok7 Autism Vlog. Have a great day.